Guys, look, they added my sexuality into Wiz. Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Phantom here, and welcome back to a brand new video, everyone. And today, I am going to be touching on the age-old question of, will Wizard101 ever cease to exist? Will this game, as a whole, curl up into an itty-bitty ball and never see the light of day? Now, many players wondered for a very long time, ever since the game's player base started kind of decaying at around like 2015, about whether this game would die soon after. And ever since then, the game has surprisingly been decently alive, and the company of KingsIsle has still continued on pushing out major updates a few times a year. Now, I'm sure it's surprised many people by now how the game is still going after more than an entire decade, which is honestly pretty crazy. After more than 11 years of pain and suffering, Wiz still stands. But of course, all of this prompts the main question at hand. Will this game actually fully die one day? And it's really interesting when you think about it because most MMOs don't really last this long. Now, Wizard101 is a bit of an oddball when it comes to the subject of mainstream gaming popularity. Because on the surface, one might see a dry game with really not much to lose as it stands. A shallow game that has been forgotten by time itself and most of its player base as a whole. But really, when you dig a bit deeper, one will eventually come to realize there's a very dedicated fanbase that still wants to see this game thrive and succeed. Sure, this fanbase itself might be a bit on the smaller side. However, people underestimate how dedicated and attached players can become. And this is inherently why I think the game has been alive for so long, and why it stood for more than 11 years, and why it probably, most likely, won't die anytime soon. I'd like to describe Wiz's fanbase as more quality over quantity, as it doesn't have that many players as it is, but many of the people who continue to play and spend money do it pretty religiously. So let's see, you've got sort of the medium level players who play and spend money pretty frequently, combined with like the average Joes that like, just purchase a membership, combined with a couple noobs thrown in there, and of course merged with the absolute whales of this game. By the way, if you don't know what a whale is, it's a person who spends an absolute obscene amount of money on a certain game, thus supporting the game in bulk and just giving like a ton of money to the company and just, supporting the game and obviously getting a ton of stuff out of it. So I truly believe it is Wiz's loyal fanbase that has kept it alive for so long, and honestly it might surprise some people. I feel like there's been just so many people who have probably thought this game would have died a really long time ago. But it hasn't. It hasn't, and it's still alive, and KingsIsle is still pushing out new content. So clearly, there must be something going on here. Clearly, or at least what it seems like to me, is Wiz's fan base, at least for now, is just loyal enough to support the company enough to keep the game running. At least that's what it seems like. I'm not an expert on like KI's financial situation or anything. I don't know how close this game is to being dead. I really don't know. But the fact that we have been getting hints at new content, new items, there is a new world coming very soon, quite possibly in the fall update. The fact that we are still getting content for this game, storyline expansions, probably means that it is not shutting down anytime soon, and KingsIsle definitely has a bit more fuel left, okay? And really, you have to own it up to the player base for this. We definitely support them quite a bit, right? The support, I mean, obviously they weren't making as much money as they were, in when they first launched, or a couple years after, right, when Wiz actually just peaked. So they weren't making as much, they're not making as much right now as they did back then, but it is definitely still enough to keep the game afloat, and that is really the sole reason why it hasn't died yet. Now, it really begs another question, though. This begs another question, and that is, when will the fanbase leave? When will the entirety of the fanbase leave? When will the big whales, the huge supporters of the game, actually leave? And really, all I gotta say about that is time will tell. Time will tell, and it's definitely going to have to... It definitely falls on KingsIsle's shoulders as to whether, the players, whether they want to put in the effort to make those players stay or not. Because yes, there are some people that are super attached to the game and King's Isle could probably release, god, fucking anything into the game, and they would still pay money, right? But King's Isle does have some difficult decisions to make, and they have to keep making, you know, the right choices. And I know, obviously, some of King's Isle's choices have not been the best in the most recent years, but they have to at least somewhat cater to their fan base, because if they don't cater to their fan base, they are going to lose a big part of their population. They're probably most likely going to lose like their average Joes, their regular players, which make up a very, very important part of the player base. It's almost like the middle class, right? And if the middle class goes away, and you know, let's say they are still bringing in new players, let's say there are still noobs that are trying out the game, because I guess every once in a while people do actually like find this game and then start playing it like pretty frequently. It's definitely rare nowadays, but it does happen. So if you don't have that middle class though, and you just have the whales and the noobs, basically, you're not gonna really have a real game with a real fan base that can support the game for many years to come. So King's Isle has definitely got to cater to a lot of people, a lot of sides of different arguments, a lot of sides of different situations. They got to play their cards at least somewhat right. And yes, I know they're not a perfect company, and I know they don't make the perfectest decisions all the time, if that makes sense, but they do need to somewhat cater for it if they do want this to if they do want this game to survive for many years to come. Sorry, talking is just really hard for me today, but I hope that makes sense to everyone, really, because when you do lose out on that big portion of regular players, the game's just not the same, right? Eventually, without those lower tier players, even the whales, I think, would get bored of it. I really think so. And when those guys leave, well, the game's fucked, right? So that's kind of just my philosophy on that. So if you want my, like, short answer of, you know, the answer to this big overarching question of whether Wiz will die soon, I don't think so. I think the game has at least a couple years left, if not more, seriously, because, like I said, a lot of you underestimate how attached people are to this game, and the fact that King's Isle is still pushing out new content and is still releasing updates like the Shadow Spell nerf to prepare for the game's future and to scale the difficulty a little bit better, to just prepare for future worlds in general and future content. That, to me, seems like they do still care about the game. They do still, you know, somewhat, I don't want to, like, you know, paint King's Isle in a bad light here, but, like, somewhat care about their player base and still want themselves to succeed, and they haven't given up yet, which is a very good sign, and that is why I feel like Wiz will continue for a pretty decently long amount of time. Now, I wanted to touch on another point as to why people are so dedicated to this game, and that is because there is something, I swear, there's something special about this game, okay? There's something special in the nostalgia, in the happy memories that you had playing this game that I feel like, for a lot of players, keeps them coming back to the game even when they've quit for a certain amount of time, right? So there's areas, man, areas like Ravenwood, areas like the Commons, man, I swear, whenever I come here, I'm just reminded of really all the happy memories I shared here with friends, with just people in game, different experiences I had. I just remember all of that, and honestly, that is one of the reasons why that is, in essence, kind of why me and a lot of other people still play this game, right? Because there's those just memories there. There's those memories. I have a lisp. No, not really, but there's those memories rooted into people's brains that they just cannot forget, right? This game's like heroin, man. It just injects itself into your mind, and it's just not gonna leave, and you're just gonna keep coming back. It's an analogy, but it's true, goddammit, alright? It's true, and that is why I do think that the small part of the fan base that is left is working so hard to keep supporting this game and keep playing it because they have those certain memories and they want to, you know, keep reliving, if not, you know, fragments, if not fragments of what they remember as a child, if that makes sense, when they were young, is what I'm trying to say here. So, just to quickly recap, you know, because we're getting towards the end of the video here, I do think Wizard101 has a decent amount of lifespan left. Like I said, it really depends on, I guess, people's interest in the game and King's Isle's choices in the near future, that will keep people playing this game, because I know just so many people, I swear, after KI releases like a new update, they're like, okay, yep, this is where I'm quitting, you know, this is it, I'm done with the game after this, and then they come back like a week later. So I feel like that's a reality for a lot of people. So I just wanted to kind of recognize the importance of the Wizard101 fan base and how it's contributed to the game's really long lifespan, and how it could quite possibly go on for a decently long time, seriously. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it also helps that KingsIsle is now a smaller company than it once was, so I guess it needs, you know, less resources to support the game, I suppose. It needs less resources, but it does mean we will be getting content slower. I mean, let's be honest, their team was a lot bigger a long time ago, and if you look at the updates, you know, down the line, you'll see that, of course, we get less and less updates, which is just kind of to be expected as games get older. But anyways, guys, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy me touching on the question of will Wizard101 ever die? Oh my gosh, honestly, we don't know. Only time will tell, but I personally think it's got some time left. I'm pretty optimistic about this game's lifespan and the direction that it's heading in, because it seems like KingsIsle is preparing long term, which is interesting, because I know a lot of people weren't fans of the summer update, but it does show that KI still cares about this game long term and is just preparing for the foreseeable future. Anyways, that is going to be all from me, everyone. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy, or if you liked this video at some point, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. I post videos like this, cool videos like this, pretty much all the time now that it's summer, so I really hope you guys will come to enjoy those. And yes, once again, you could hit the subscribe button, or maybe, you know, click the notification bell. I don't usually say that, but if you want to be notified every time you post, because you love me that much, right? You love me that much, then, you know, you have the option to do that. But anyways, that is going to be all from me, everyone. I will see you guys in the next video or stream, whenever that may be, and take care, guys. Peace out, and enjoy the rest of your day.